life is to train. And when you eat the words of the tree of life, you can train. You will be a perfect trainer. The tree of life means to teach. And when you eat the words of the tree of life, you become a perfect teacher. As Yahweh is a perfect teacher. The tree of life means to educate. And when you eat the words of the tree of life, you become a true educator. And you're able to cause others to educe. You're able to educe light from darkness. The tree of life means to form. And when you eat the words of the tree of life, you can form whatever you wish. There are no limits for you. The tree of life is prime. And you become prime when you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life means to prepare. And you are able to prepare yourself to be perfect in all that you do. The tree of life means to drill, to exercise, to discipline, and to practice. And when you eat the words of the tree of life, you're able to drill yourself and to drill others. You're able to exercise yourself, to exercise your children, and to exercise the world. When you eat the words of the tree of life, you're able to practice the laws of Yahweh and teach the world to become practitioners of the laws of Yahweh. The tree of life means to cultivate, and when you eat the words of the tree of life, you're able to cultivate. The tree of life is able to acclimatize and to adapt. And of course, when you eat the words of the tree of life, you become able to habituate or to acclimatize and to adapt to whatever circumstances that are before you. The tree of life is superior. And when you eat the words of the tree of life, you become superior. In fact, you become holy as Yahweh is holy, because the tree of life is holy. The tree of life is virtue. Its essence is virtue. So when you eat, when you eat of the tree of life, you become virtuous. What a blessing. You become priceless. The tree of life is integrity. And when you eat the words of the tree of life, you become a man of integrity. The tree of life is pure. And you become pure when you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is truth. And you become one of truth when you eat the words of Yahweh. The word of Yahweh from the tree of life is absolute. So you become absolute when you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is righteous. And you become righteous when you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is moral. And you become moral when you eat the words of the tree of life. You become honorable when you eat the words of the tree of life, because the tree of life is honorable. The tree of life is blessed. You become blessed as you eat the words of the tree of life. The whole earth will call you blessed, and all the families of the earth are blessed through you. And this is why they are all blessed through you. The tree of life is sanctified. And when you eat the words of the tree of life, you're able to sanctify yourself and be sanctified and be holy. The tree of life is hallowed, and you are hallowed as you eat the words from the tree of life. The tree of life is consecrated, and you too are consecrated as you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is sacred, and the whole world will declare you sacred as you eat the words of the tree of life. And they're going to want to come with you that they can learn how to be sacred too. The whole world will declare you are venerable when you eat from the words of the tree of life, because the tree of life is venerable. The tree of life is divine. And the world will witness your divinity as you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is heavenly. And when you eat from the tree of life, your thoughts are heavenly. Your actions are heavenly. Your work is heavenly. The tree of life is celestial. And when you eat the words of the tree of life, you will live in the celestial lives because you have celestial thoughts and celestial work. You will become the architect of celestial ideas and expressions. The tree of life is ethereal, and you become ethereal when you eat the words of the tree of life. And the tree of life is supernal, and you too become supernal when you eat the words of the tree of life. The whole world is looking for bliss, and you become blissful when you eat the words of the tree of life, because the tree of life is blissful. The tree of life is rapturous, and you enjoy being rapturous as you eat the words of the tree of life. Nothing can be as ecstatic as you eat the words of the tree of life, because the tree of life is ecstatic. The tree of life is supreme, and you become supreme as you eat the words of the tree of life. As you exalt the name Yahweh in the earth and sing praises to the name Yahweh in the earth, remembering that fact, as you eat the words of the tree of life, you'll be exalted because the tree of life is exalted. The tree of life is righteous, and you will be righteous as you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is upright, and you will become upright as you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is just, and you will become a just person, a just judge, as you eat the words of the tree of life, which is just. The tree of life is unworldly, and you become unworldly as you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is uncorrupted, and you become uncorrupted when you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is upright, and you become upright as you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is upstanding, and you become an upstanding person as you read, as you eat the words of the tree of life. Ingest them, digest them, and let them become a part of your being. That's the purpose of eating food. It's a spiritual lesson. And this spiritual lesson teaches us that you need food on a daily basis for your energy. So you need the same spiritual food on a daily basis for your energy. The tree of life is honest, so you need to eat this honest fruit from the tree of life, on a daily basis for your health, your spiritual health. Not read or study about honest once and set it aside on the shelf. And of course, you should understand by now that each one of these words should become a very thick book from you, my scholars and students, who are incorruptible from eating the fruit of the tree of life, because the tree of life is incorruptible. The tree of life is ethical, and as you eat the words of the tree of life, you become ethical. The tree of life is principled, and the whole world is ready to follow you as a principled people. And all you need to do to become principled is eat from the principled tree of life. The tree of life is high-minded, and when you eat from the tree of life, you become high-minded. Everyone will aspire to reach up to your high mind, and they will pay you to teach them how to have a high mind. The tree of life is noble-minded, and you become noble-minded as you eat the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is truth-telling, and you become a truth-telling person when you eat nothing but the fruit of the tree of life. The tree of life is truth dealing. And that's all you will be, as a truth dealer, as you eat from the words of the tree of life. The tree of life is trustworthy. You become a trustworthy person. Everybody will be happy to have you among them because you're a trustworthy person by eating the tree of life. The shock here is that the tree of life is Yahweh Ben Yahweh and his honored guests celebrated through the cryptic Feast of Weeks. These honored guests are the first fruits of the harvest, and Yahweh Ben Yahweh's gathering together of these honored guests is the first return of the tree of life into the midst of the garden earth since it vanished 6,000 years ago after Adam fell, and after Adam and Eve leave the Garden of Eden, which is heaven, as recorded in Genesis chapter 3. Almighty Yahweh allows free choice. Any man freely chooses. And man freely chooses today, just like Adam exercised his free choice and chose to follow Lucifer, that old serpent called the beast, Lucifer, that old serpent called Satan, Lucifer, that old serpent called the devil, Lucifer, that old serpent called the god of this world, Lucifer, that old serpent who's also called Cain, and their grafted descendants, who are the children of disobedience, who ate and today continue to eat from the words and philosophies of the grafted tree of good and evil, which will cause them to say soon, surely we inherited lies from our fathers. This tree of good and evil is wicked. The tree of good and evil is sinful.